Echo 5, do you copy? Echo 5.
Echo 2, good morning. Nice of you to drop by.
Feeling alright, sir? Thought we lost you.
Right now, I feel like I can take on this whole podcast myself.
I know what you mean. Ready to send that transmission to Echo Base?
Yes, sir. R10, patch through.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hoth Transmissions. This week we are going to be discussing Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 5. So I know like the previous episodes have we've discussed how they don't feel like they've gone anywhere, but I feel this is the episode that ties everything together. Like everything that we're confused about is explained in this episode. So a lot of cool things that are happening in this episode. So let's jump into it. What'd you guys think?
I mean, as the resident fangirl, I felt like this was the beginning. I mean, it made sense in the way that you said it as well. It made a lot of sense what we've been seeing. We literally have seen the redemption of Bo-Katan in the first half of the season. I think that was what this whole beginning of the season was. And I was very happy about it. I got goosebumps in several scenes, and I felt like this season was basically the redemption of Bo-Katan meeting the prep for Ahsoka series.
I hated it.
Did you really?
No, I didn't. I loved it. It was one of the strongest episodes of Mandalorian. Full stop. And
wait, strongest episode like from all three seasons, or
yeah.
Really?
Just because
Okay.
of how of how everything's now tying in and building the story up. It's the beginning of sort of the best arc of Mando, which then puts the episode up there as one of the best ones.
Okay,
I can see that because
not something that I expected for Sam to say.
Really?
Yeah, same, because I feel season 3 has been the weakest of all the Mandalorian seasons, but based on what Sam said, I can actually see that actually being a thing, because like the first couple seasons of Mandalorian, great, but here we're jumping in and we're getting something that's a little bit more like weighted when it comes to the overall story of everything. And so, like he said, it's tying everything in. Like we saw Zeb, huge fan, my cousin, Hoth Transmissions episode 42. Go listen to that, because I was not. My cousin and I, we talked about him if he were to come back as Zeb. He didn't know there was going to be CGI, and we actually do a little discussion about it. And he said he'd love to come back. And so I saw this episode. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to bring him back. And it kind of, I think that was one of the biggest things that will tie into Ahsoka, because we got the Rebels characters in Ahsoka now, and the only one really missing now is Zeb, and obviously Kanan. But a lot of stuff happened in this episode that I am really on Sam's side on this one, because there's a lot of things that happened that is going to hold a lot of weight going forward, and we'll see that in the next few episodes.
I love this episode, but what happened in Mandalorian season 2 season finale will never be topped by anything that will
definitely not
exist on TV ever. It's not gonna happen. So, but
with that aside, as far as story, Return of the Jedi Luke is my favorite Luke, or my favorite character of all time, even over Anakin. I love Anakin, I love Obi-Wan, but Return of the Jedi Luke, like growing up, Luke Skywalker was my hero. and then Anakin and Obi-Wan obviously came after that. But so when we have that season 2 finale, I hold that very, very, very high. But as a scene, that was a great scene. But if we're talking about like overall story, I think we're
Yeah,
going into something else.
anticlimactic. You're right about that. I mean, looking at what happened in Book of Boba Fett. But again, I mean, in this episode, we have seen a lot of single X-wing shots, and there has been on my side a lot of like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, what is happening? But nothing for me will ever top. There is a single X-wing. Who has an X-wing? Oh my god. And then that. So that's
Oh
why
no,
I can
totally get that.
season 2 season finale will forever be probably my favorite episode of.
Oh, hands down. But I'm mainly saying like as far as like story progression, this holds a little bit more like weight to tie what everything that they're trying to do now.
That's right. I mean, we have discussed the switching of focus from our Mando to Mandalorian as the people, then the Mandalorian as Bo-Katan. So I agree with that, but yeah, season 2,
I'm gonna
season
say
finale.
I hate the Republic. I hate the New Republic. They're a bunch of clowns, if you ask me.
Horrible. They're corrupt from the get-go.
Like the Empire is better off ruling the galaxy than these guys. Like literally, pirates are gonna take a outer rim planet and it's like, oh, we don't have the resources for it, so good luck. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
they're
What's
not
up?
a member, so we're not going to waste time doing it. It's like, dude, like, you want people to join, you help them out, you give them the reason to join your new republic.
100%.
On it, like I loved that moment in this episode where you get to see the flat out, no, we're not doing it. And just because of that, it's like, okay, yeah, this new republic idea is terrible. Bring back the Empire.
Yeah, I'm not on board.
No,
Long live
no.
the Empire.
So early. The discussion cannot go anywhere good after this. Please don't say stuff like bring back the Empire.
No, definitely bring back the Empire, especially.
I mean, in story terms, you know, the Empire, while were not good, they had people stationed on every planet. They tried to keep peace and order. I mean, story point, you know, Empire is winning at this point. Give me the Empire.
Peace and order versus freedom?
Who needs freedom?
Oh, okay. This is a non-starter.
We see where
discussion.
we see where freedom is. We're seeing where the freedom is leading the New Republic at this point. But
I mean, this whole charter thing, and then the New Republic is very much reminiscent of the United Nations as it is right now. So, yeah, I am on the fence about that, but I would not say bring back the Empire. I think that's a step too far.
Empire was a little corrupt and they were not the best, but they were a little bit more in control of how things went down. Like, if the Empire is like, oh, there's a threat over here, okay, we'll deal with that pirate. Not because we want to help you, but because we need to maintain our control. The New Republic, on the other hand, is like, it's not really our problem. It's your problem. The Empire, I'm on the Empire's team for this.
Sorry, Fluffy.
Nope.
It's only because like the New Republic, I don't think they're too new. They based on episode 3, like Sam and I already talked about it. Like between the New Republic and the Empire, both are bad, obviously, but the New Republic doesn't seem like they care.
Yeah.
Even though the Empire doesn't care, we know that from the start, but the New Republic pretends to.
I think we should not forget about the fact that it is still a republic versus an empire. Like there is this huge thing called democracy in between that we might want to consider. Maybe.
I'm just
fair.
saying what Anakin said in Attack of the Clones when Padme asked him. Like his response on Naboo, I see where Anakin's coming from.
And
Nope.
it worked out perfectly for Anakin, you know.
Sure. Of course. I mean,
but don't misinterpret though. Like the Empire is definitely bad, but I'm just saying as far as like the governments that we see in Star Wars at the moment, the Empire was a little bit more in control because they were a lot more organized. The New Republic, they're still new and learning, but when we see in episode 3 of the season, they're using like mind flayers and stuff like that, and they just don't seem like they know what they're doing. And so it comes off like they're inexperienced to deal with it. And we see that with Tiva because Tiva has to go behind basically the New Republic's back and seek out the Mandalorians to be able to take care of a problem that the New Republic should have taken care of in the first place. And that is kind of a stepping stone to really kind of bring our Mandalorian groups together. And so the New Republic, while good intentions, are failing terribly. And I'm down for the Empire and the New Republic falling, and let's just have Bo-Katan run it with the Mandalorians. They seem more in charge than anybody, and they're a small group.
I mean,
Best
that's another
idea.
type of monarchy.
Yeah, I'm down for that. You know, if I had Bo-Katan and a bunch of Mandalorians come up and say, "We're going to be in charge," I'll be like, "You know what? You do that. You run it." Because
You do that.
yeah, you do that. You do that.
I would
Complete
again
backing from Britain
disagree.
here.
I wouldn't want any court to be run by trial by combat. That is not how I envision things.
I personally
would be
think
fun.
that our society would be better off, especially in wars. Like you have our presidents go, it's like, okay, tribal combat, all right, let our leaders deal with it, not the civilians. So tribal combat, let's go.
You would have done really well in the like 500 BC or something.
Probably, but I'm not going like Game of Thrones style, like tribal combat.
It's the exact same thing. It's just more politics than what it was.
That's fair. That's fair. But right now, I mean, the New Republic is kind of just messing it up, and I see why the First Order had to come up and it's like, no, you guys are screwing things up. You obviously need us, but you guys are refusing help.
Yeah, and I mean the First Order was built on a foundation of deceit anyway, whereas the Empire was very much, you know, Palpatine just came out and said, "This is what I'm doing."
Yes, very much, and I think that's why they're trying to really build the New Republic to look bad because we have the sequels, and I don't know. I feel like they're trying to make us not like the New Republic. Like they.
I mean, if the New Republic was functioning perfectly, and if we actually were were for the New Republic, we would have been very disappointed and have looked for answers. Oh, how did the First Order came to be? We will probably get the answers at some point, but again, if the New Republic was something that we were supposed to be attached to, then there would be no point to the sequel trilogy.
And I think it's because even in this episode, we see I forget her name. I always forget her name. The Imperial chick. I think the New Republic is so new and so, I want to say, innocent that they've allowed people like her to take stronger points than she should have. And
Definitely.
so that could also be the failing of the New Republic, is that the New Republic is so integrated with the Empire. Like when you look at the Legends material, it took a while before the Empire and even the New Republic became friends and decided to create the Galactic Republic. And here we see that these Imperials are integrating themselves into the New Republic government, that you're going to see it being repeated, because you got this chick who's like, oh yeah, I'm your best friend, but I'm not.
Yeah, I still don't know what position she's playing as well, because we had that very, very boring episode with her in it. That
Not her fault. It was just a very boring episode.
yeah, no,
Just so fans understand
yes,
that we're not
it was,
hating on the actress,
yeah, no,
because
definitely.
she did really well.
Yeah, great, great part in playing the character. Just the episode was boring.
Just bad story.
But she seems to still have part of that Empire mindset, and looks like she could try and twist things to get her in a position of into an advantage, which is very Empire-esque, and it's also why people don't trust her, because we see
Now people do trust her, but I think Tiva is a very special case. Like, we've seen him help Hera and Ahsoka and stuff like that. He's not one that's going to be easily fooled. It's like, oh yeah, you're saying this. It's like, yeah, you're only sorry because you got caught. She's like, no, I got liberated. He's like, yeah. I'm not. I don't believe that.
Yeah, I think we have first, I mean, from the outside, since we've seen the whole show and then Ahsoka on top, we know what she is. But for viewers who watched it in time, it's not the case. So she's actually fooling a lot of people. But we have to always think that actually it is super naive of the New Republic to think that they have managed to actually reform so many people who used to be fanatics of the Empire, and they might be thinking like, okay, they were a part of the Empire because that was what the thing was. There was no other way. The way that you got a government job was to be a part of the Empire, no matter what they stood for. So that is one thing, but there is also the case that, I mean, we see what is happening. We know what is coming, and we are just watching it with hindsight, basically, especially when we're doing the review after we've done Ahsoka, after we've seen everything. So it's really difficult to now, at least from my point of view, look at it as with like, oh, the fresh mindset. Oh, is this really what is happening? No, I mean, I know more than Carson Teva at this point, and we know that he has a point. And he also did not become a part of the rebellion just by being so naive and believing everybody has just good intentions and they can be reformed and they can just be a part of the new republic and great individuals. I think, my opinion.
Which they can, but I mean, this character, because I don't even know if we see her after this. I think this is like the last time we see her. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think she's just there just to kind of progress Gideon's role.
I can't remember if she's in another episode, but sort of more as a background character. But you are correct. It is she is there to progress other not just Gideon's role really, but other roles in general. Like, you know, without her, Tiva wouldn't have then gone to find the Mandalorians. You know, so
True. Very
she's
true.
this plot point now that everything's kind of converging on her. We had the really boring episode, which, you know, it was her actions not indirectly, but her actions directly influencing other characters. And then in this, it's the same thing where she gives the explanation to Tiva, and then Tiva's like, right, I'm gonna go do my own thing. I'm gonna find people that will help.
And it progresses the Mandalorians as well, because now they have a planet that they can go to. We got two groups that are going to be connecting, because Bo-Katan had a huge role in this episode because of that. But how awesome was it when Mando's like, "Oh, Tiva came here," and Paz Vizsla like, "Oh no, we should kill him." He's like, no, he helped me, so let's spare his life. But let's hear him out. He's like, "My friend's in trouble. I'm not gonna ask you guys to help me, but I'll plead my case. So if anybody wants to, because this is a big thing." And then I love that Paz kind of came up behind Mando. It's like, "We fought this guy. He did this to us, but Bo and Mando have shown their loyalty to us, so let's give them the same loyalty back," which I found very powerful.
So I found that moment more powerful than Mando's speech. Because, you know, Mando, you kind of
Yeah,
expect him to give the hero speech, we need to do this because it's the right thing to do. But then for Paz to come up and, you know, he's like, he's big, you know, he it's like, where's this heading? Is it just going to be Mando and Bo-Katan going? And he's like, I don't like the plan. The plan is terrible, but you helped me. I'm helping you. And it's like, it is that start of the unity that Mandalorians as a whole needed.
I mean, leaders are always as strong as people who follow them. We should always think about this. And I think the moment that Paz Vizsla and Mando became a unit and became that thing that would support Bo-Katan, whatever her purposes, whatever her choices, I think that's when we see the shift. Also, especially in the story, which we basically stop following Armando and we go into Bo-Katan as Armando for the rest of the season until the very last episode. So I also think that is a very significant moment when we see Paz Vizsla and Mando leaving their differences aside, leaving everything else aside, and saying that, okay, Bo-Katan was the one who chased my kid when we actually gave up on him. And that's why she's my leader. We know she will never leave any Mando behind. And that's what Mando already knows from the get-go. So that's how we get into this.
yeah. So I mean, it's not that we don't follow Din Djarin. It's more like we're following all of them now. Like, I still think Mando or Din Djarin is very much the lead character. So it's building up, like we said before, like this episode, there's a lot going on, a lot of different plot points happening to set things up that are going to go beyond even the finale of this show. Because a lot of stuff that's set up here, I'm not gonna say it's really tied up by the end of the season, but it ties into the finale. But also, we can see where it's going after.
Yeah. So, you know, we have got the two different sort of sects of Mandalorians now, as in characters, the titular characters. We have got the Mandalorian Din Djarin, and we have got now the Mandalorian Bo-Katan, and she's the one that will bring everybody together, every Mandalorian under one. She's going to unite them and become the Mandalorian. So to get that comparison is quite interesting to see when you've got characters like Paz that is very, he's level-headed in the way that he knows how to follow orders, and he knows when to speak up and say, I'm not doing that, that's wrong, or a stupid idea. And to me, it kind of felt like at this moment that he's still not 100% there, but he's kind of returning the favor, So I think, with characters like Paz Vizsla starting to come in and show respect to Bo-Katan and Din Djarin, it is showing that even though the show is Mandalorian, or The Mandalorian, it's now becoming that broader scope of every Mandalorian is essentially now the Mandalorian in their own rights.
It's become plural at this point.
Yeah, Mark was also saying that the Mandalorian is actually plural. So I think that is basically on point at this time when we see all of the Mandalorian. We're not using the plural in this second half of the show.
Yeah. And I mean, we could talk forever about the difference in terminology for Mandalorians, but
like moose. You don't say meese.
Yeah. Sheep and sheep. It's
But I mean, I do agree with you. Like, it's really cool that we're seeing like these characters come in and show respect to someone that's not even part of their culture. But as we saw, she became the recruit, and now even the armor is starting to show some respect to her, because I remember we made the joke. It's like, oh no, yeah, you said you saw a method store, yeah. Let's get you some more meds.
Yeah.
It was an illusion, but now we see that the armor is actually being more respectful to Bo-Katan and building her up into a new role that only Bo-Katan could fill.
I mean, definitely. At the end of the episode, we see you are the one who can unite us. You are the one who walks you have been in both the worlds. And this is correct also when you think about Mandalore pre-destruction versus post-destruction, and the Mandalorian in when you think, okay, Death Watch, Children of the Watch, and so on and so forth. So she is actually the Mandalorian that we see that has looked and have seen all things that are relevant to actually building the culture of Mandalore and Mandalore again. So I think at this point it makes perfect sense, in my opinion, at least. The parts where I thought, okay, when the armor said, like, take off your helmet, I was like, oh my God, no, like, something is gonna happen. But that was perfect. She was like, you are the one who walked the both worlds. You have been trying to walk our way, and we see what you have done with the people who followed you, and we respect you. You saw the mythosaur. I believe you, or not, but you are the one who's gonna unite us. You're the one who's going to take us to our new home planet, or Mandalore, back. So I think everything made perfect sense, at least in that sequence for me.
Yeah, it was, and to use the phrase again, it was definitely the Aragorn moment for Bo-Katan, where it's like, she's now been given the task of uniting everybody.
I just want to scream, men of the West.
Yeah. If that
Very
doesn't
well.
happen in this season, it will. It will happen. But yeah, no, you are correct. No, it is very much that whole thing of building. The character of Bo-Katan has been built up so much, and we've seen so many different sides of her in all of the shows and the properties that she's been in. To then get to this moment where she's told to remove her helmet, it very, as a first time watcher, way back when the episode first came out, it was like, what is going on? Like, a few episodes ago, you chastised her for having her helmet off. Now you're saying you can take your helmet off. Like, what and why? And then it's all explained, and it's like, okay, so
So, you walk
this
both
is
worlds,
happening now.
so
Yeah,
you can do what you want. You can take your helmet off. We don't care.
Before
Nobody
the
else can do it, but only Bo-Katan.
Yeah, I mean, before the armor started saying those sentences and making those statements, I was like, this is not good. This is a red herring of some kind. Something is going to happen. But then she was perfectly clear. She was like, okay, this is the leader that we've been looking for. This is the leader that actually brings two sides of Mandalore together, that encompasses us, that understands us. They are not judging the children of the Watch. They are not judging at some point the other Mandalorian culture, but it's just everything coming together under one person. And it literally, for me, it was, I had two goosebumps moments in the show for this episode. One, of course, seeing Zeb live action. Perfect. Perfect. There is nothing to say. Perfect. CGI. And then, of course, the armor talking to Bo-Katan, saying things like, you are the one who can unite us. That was, for me, 100% goosebump moment.
Yeah, Bo-Katan, you talked about the Mythosaur. I know I made it seem like you were just having an illusion, but now I'm actually telling you, to see the Mythosaur is bringing on a new age, so we have to understand that. And because you are the one that saw it, you're the one that's going to bridge our two cultures together, because we don't have the other Mandos yet. But the armorer is seeing the importance of uniting both, because it's like, yeah, we have our rules, we'll keep following our rules, but there's no reason why we can't bring everybody back together, because this is what needs to be done. And like you said, Bo-Katan is being recognized as the leader they were looking for, and so here Bo-Katan is fulfilling the role that the armorer has been standing in. I mean, kind of think of it like you said, the Aragorn moment. The armorer is basically the steward, waiting for the king to take its role.
Yeah. I found it very much like a combination of a steward and Elrond in the Return of the King movie, where Elrond presents Aragorn with Anduril the sword, and it very much felt that same sort of thing, where this is, the armorer is now saying, this is your birthright, this is who you're meant to be.
Guys, this I'm gonna cry. This is everything.
Hey, if you can't liken Star Wars and Lord of the Rings together, then what kind of fan are you?
Yeah.
I'm gonna cry. We have to talk about the steward part a little bit, because I mean, the steward that we've seen in Lord of the Rings did not do what he was supposed to do. So I 100% agree with the Elrond part of things. Elrond, Gandalf coming together as the armor. That's perfect. I just have no words. I'm gonna cry. Please resume the conversation.
There was one moment in this episode that I really enjoyed, and I had to watch it a couple of times. And it was when Teva was saying that there was a veteran of the rebellion amongst the Mandalorian ranks, and the camera sort of panning to like characters like Paz, and it turns out R5 just rolls out and it's like, hey.
I forgot about that. That was a cool moment.
I actually made a lot of notes about a lot of parallels to the original trilogy. Because, as I said, I am a huge fan of the prequels because that's what I grew up with, but I've, of course, watched everything times and times over. And I think, especially in this episode specifically, there were a lot of callbacks to the original trilogy. I mean, first of all, for example, when the pirates start attacking and Grief Karga is asking for help, he turns to the droid R5D4, and there is basically like it cuts to the credits, like it cuts to the title sequence, but we see the "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." That's number one. And then we see the X-Wing. X-Wing is the original trilogy everywhere. And then we have the, where is it? What was I talking about? Good luck, you're gonna need it. It is said in the exact same way Han Solo says it to Lando Calrissian. It's the exact same intonation. I mean, the lines are the same, but even the intonation is the same. So I made notes of these. It was beautiful. We know that Mandalorian is basically directed by different people on every single episode, and there is the executive production of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and Rick. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not gonna butcher it because a lot of people butcher my first name, so I don't like that. Rick. And we've seen a lot of callbacks because of Dave Filoni's love for the prequels to that era, but in this episode specifically, I saw a lot of callbacks to the original trilogy. And these are just the three that I can think of off the top of my head. If I looked even deeper, I'm sure I can find a lot more, from the sound design to the creatures to everything else.
Yeah, I did notice the ones that you mentioned, and I noticed a lot of callbacks to some original lines, and I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds cool. Because the episode was titled "The Pirates," and we haven't really discussed the pirates. We've been talking about everything that's leading up to our group coming to fight them. But
we even do a scene by scene at this point. Yeah, we have to definitely talk about the pirates.
Especially the pirate leader looking like Davy Jones.
Yes.
Definitely.
And I feel that was like a direct connection to Pirates of the Caribbean.
I don't know whether it was intentional in the way that it looked, very similar to, but the likeness was definitely there between the two characters, and even the sort of inflections in the voice. This one had more of a sort of, I don't know if either of you know sort of pirate history, but a lot of pirates were around Devon and Cornwall, so they talked with more of a West Country British accent. Think of if someone says like farmer and they start talking like this, and then you get a bit gravelly, and then you start talking like this, and that's where you get the pirate accent. That's where it came from, and it's very sort of similar to the lore of Davy Jones.
At this point, I just look at it as what it is. Everything is a Disney product, and sure, I mean, why not use the design? Because what I thought as soon as I saw the pirate ship was like, oh, this is a Kree ship from Marvel Cinematic Universe. So they just chopped one half of it and used the rest.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what I thought. So I think everything that is a Disney franchise at the moment, I think it translates well through the different products.
What did you think to the
Just to cut in real
Mando
quick, because
version?
I'm looking on IMDb right now, and to go on with the whole historical on the pirate thing. Forgive me if I missed this, if you already said it, but I'm looking at the name of the pirate. He's called Pirate Vane, and apparently there was a historical figure pirate that was called Charles Vane, and it was
Yeah.
from the golden age of piracy, and it dealt a lot with like in Jamaica area. But it's interesting that they created this. They gave him the same name as an old pirate. Sorry.
I mean that is very much what Disney tends to do. They'll take a real life name and then sort of twist it into whatever franchise it is. I.e., like so with Star Wars, we've got this one. Um, we've got Blackbeard in Pirates of the Caribbean and Davy Jones. You know, they were quote unquote real figures. So it is an interesting thing that Disney does, that they do take real names and put them in their settings.
Which they also did with Jeremy Bulloch, because he was the original person to play Boba Fett. And the plot of land that Grief Karga gives the Mandalorians is called Bulloch Canyon.
Yeah.
And so they did a tribute to Jeremy Bulloch, which I thought was really cool.
I think though overall the people, I mean the entire Mandalorian production team and everyone, I think they're doing a really good job of calling out the people who actually contributed into this whole universe in some way or other. I think they've been doing a very good job at that.
And interesting note here that I didn't notice, but apparently the scanner that Tiva is using to scan the ship at the end was first used in the Alien movies. If you've seen those movies.
That would make sense. I mean, if you look at the set design on the Prometheus, I think is it the Prometheus on one of the main ships in the Alien franchise. There is quite literally the AMT model company. They did the Millennium Falcon model kit, and there is literally the sprues of that as the back wall detail. So it's nice to have, you know, the sort of crossover both ways now, where you've got props being reused and repurposed, which again is something that Disney does quite a lot, because they did it again with Pirates of the Caribbean. The chest from the first Pirates film was the Ark of the Covenant, just repurposed.
Can we put a sound effect in here, like mind blowing?
It's really cool what they do, like to be able to tie a lot of different franchises together and just a nod of approval, not of approval, but like just kind of.
I mean, we are looking at it from a very good perspective, but they basically own everything that we love outside of Lord of the Rings.
That's true, because Disney actually owns Alien now. So
yeah,
but they acquired that after they made the reference. But
I didn't
now
want
they
to
have
say
every right to now.
when you were discussing it before, but I've never watched Alien and or whatever.
You're missing such a great role of Sigourney Weaver.
If it has the slightest amount of horror in it or a jump scare, I'm out.
Yeah, Alien has a bunch of that, so
yeah.
Nope.
you'll have fun with it.
I
It,
have
it gets less as the story progresses into other movies, but it's like
Yep.
Alien 1, 2, and 3 are like probably the ones that are very jump scary, and maybe even Alien Resurrection. I think that's the name of it. But
never gonna happen. Nope. Anything that has the slightest bit of horror jump scare in it, you can count me out. Not gonna work. I'll cry.
But I mean, from a sort of production point of view as well, though, props are reused over, in multiple different things. Again, there was the spacesuits from Starship Trooper. They were reused in Firefly, which I love that
is
TV
true.
show. So it could have just been a case of what props can we get our hands on that looks vaguely like what we need, and it just happens to be the same one that we've seen in Alien or in the Alien franchise. So I do love the connections in it.
That's why I was referring to the pirate ship as the Kree ship, because I'm sure some sort of model or whatever that they was used, because it really, like, the first moment that we see it, I was like, okay, this is basically the modified version of the Kree ship from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1.
Right.
It just stood up to me the most.
Yeah.
Because even the music had more of a pirate jelly theme when they were on screen. Like, if you notice, the soundtrack changed from a traditional Star Wars sound, but they kind of moved it into a more pirate style while trying to keep it similar to a Star Wars style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that. It was great.
I think the soundtrack and the soundscapes in this episode were also especially very good. I really liked that.
But I mean, like I said, like, a lot of stuff in this episode really tied in and worked really well. And granted, I thought the whole pirate thing was a little cheesy, but it was a plot progressor to bring the Mandalorians to Navarro, set up camp, and progress the story to where it needs to go.
Definitely, and there's a very important line there. It is, I mean, it's not like the Mandalorians were not in Navarro before. They were there, but they were in the sewers. But now they're coming to the light. So this is also
they don't have to hide.
Exactly. Exactly. I think this is also a very important point in how Mandalorians choose to actually stand with Bo-Katan and Mando.
Yeah, 100% agreed. And I think them introducing Tiva to this mix made a huge difference too, because it pushed the plot to, we got 3 episodes left, and before I had no idea what they're even planning. I didn't even know who the villain was. I thought it was just basically, okay, all right, we got a Mandalorian plot here. It's just basically Bo-Katan coming into her role. And now we have a little bit of a thing, like Moff Gideon was never actually made it to his trial. So and now we see the shuttle that he was supposed to be on.
Definitely.
And now we kind of have an idea, okay, is Moff Gideon going to be the villain of this series? We don't know.
In that singular scene, we have, Carson Teva not trusting the Republic and going and examining things for himself and finding the evidence. And we have a lot of things that are building up to the villain of the season. And then we see the fragment of Beskar alloy, which is like a red herring, because the dispatch is asking, like, does that mean he was rescued by Mandalorians? So we see that is a build-up, and that the question is going to be answered in the coming episodes. we see the setup towards Ahsoka.
What did you feel about the almost callback to the art design on the pirate ship? Because the underside of it was very reminiscent of Thrawn's ship in terms of how that was painted. And that again could be sort of classed as a, I mean, now looking forward, now we know that Thrawn is back, but do you think it could have been based on that design? Or
What I know about that is that the design of that ship is based on one of the legends, and it is a Sith ship. That is at least what I know. Anything else, I'd be just guessing.
that's fair enough. I mean, I just thought it was a sort of foreshadowing for Thrawn coming back, because we see the ship hovering, we see it painted on the underside. We know it's not a Star Destroyer, but it's very reminiscent of how Thrawn's ship looked, especially in its prime. So it could have been like a tribute as such to Thrawn, because pirates, they do that.
Definitely. Thank you. You somehow made me. I mean, I did not remember what I was going to say. Not at all. That ship has sailed, but the way that Throne attacked on Lothar and this pirate ship attacking on Navarro and its citizens, there is also a parallel there that we should consider.
And now it's time for Sam Does Architecture. So the way that the buildings looked on Navarro are very reminiscent of modern day Greece. Word. In the way that you've got the sort of the old, the more sort of ruins towards the back, and then it's becoming more and more modern, and domes on the top painted white. It is very reminiscent of Greece. And that concludes today's lecture on architecture.
Hey, if we have Sam, we need at least something of architecture being mentioned. But yeah, overall, really good episode. A lot of cool things that they did, and I'm excited to get into the next few ones.
Ooh, the Mando drop from the Gauntlet ship. It was really, really good. That
was actually really cool.
Yeah.
It is not a scene we can definitely just sleep on. It is a scene that we need to talk about. We need to celebrate. It was beautiful. It was amazingly well done.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't actually talked about the battle at all.
No.
That is true. We kind of danced around everything but that.
What did you think to the battle? The sort of two aspects, because you had the ground aspect and then you had the aerial.
There was a Mando surfing on top of a ship that was crashing towards Navarro, and that was nobody will see the footage of this, but all I can describe this is chef's kiss. That was a beautiful shot.
That reminded me of the Clone Wars cartoon from 2005.
The 2D?
The 2D one, yeah, where you had Mace Windu. He cut open and was controlling one of the droid fighters by like just holding onto the wires, and it to me it felt very reminiscent of that. So again, that could be another callback. But it was good. It was really good.
I was really, seeing the Mando ship drop was really beautiful, and especially under Bo-Katan's command from her ship, the Gauntlet, it was really beautifully done. Yeah. One other thing, right afterwards was the armorer fighting with her tools. I was like, whoa.
Oh, that was really cool.
This is beautiful. Like that spine grab with the tongs. I was like, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
No notes.
The cinematography in this episode has I don't know what it was, whether it was the director or and their vision, but the cinematography was just perfect.
Did you look up who the director is?
Oh, have a
He
look.
is one of the 3 directors of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Once I've seen that, I was like, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of the best movies that has ever existed. And of
I agree.
course, one of the 3 guys at the helm of it was at the helm of this episode. So I was not surprised once I've looked that fact up.
Yeah, I'm looking through the director's stuff now. It's crazy. But again, it was also written. So the episode was written by Jon Favreau, who is a super nerd anyway. He brought back, but he kickstarted the MCU with Iron Man, and his writing style is it's an interesting one, because Iron Man had no script for most of the film, so it was kind of he was just there saying, just wing it and see what happens. And I kind of wonder how much of that is now done in projects that he does now. Because I mean, it's full on Disney money, so he's probably got the time to say, I'll do a script.
I think we should not forget that Iron Man is Robert Downey Jr.
Yes.
I think a lot of it has something to do with that, because Robert Downey Jr., even though there is a script, he is the man that he is, just going around doing other stuff. I don't
True.
know about that. But yeah, I mean, it's Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. I am so thankful that we got them in our day and age, that they are the people who actually brought all of this to our lives, because I was a prequel. I have been a prequel girl. I will forever be a prequel girl. But for them to exist in this time and doing this with the characters that I loved within this timeline, it's just perfect. I'm just so grateful.
Yeah. I just want to put a downer on everything for a sec. This is one of the final appearances of Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about that now, because watching seasons 1, 2, and up to this point, it's like, great. You see his character evolve as much as you see every other character evolve. But now that's it, and I hope that they don't do any sort of CGI, AI type thing with him to bring him back, because just
I hope not.
if you need to kill his character off screen, do it. It could be like a transmission to Din Djarin to say, you need to get back to Navarro because they've just killed most people there. And I just it's a sad thing when a character or an actor dies, especially when it's partway through something that's building up to a bigger project.
You are very much right about that. What I think, though, is so far Disney has been very tasteful about doing these things. And I think they paid great homage to Carrie Fisher. And I think they can do the same with Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
At least that is what I want to believe. I hope they don't do something But you never know. Disney, the corporation that it is, you never know. But I believe they can do good with what we have at the moment. Because they did not disrespect Carrie Fisher in any way, shape, or form. We've seen it in, I think, Andor. I cannot remember exactly. With C3PO speaking for Princess Leia and hoping.
Well, Ahsoka.
Yeah,
Ahsoka?
Ahsoka.
True. Ah, my brain is all over the place with all of these live action shots. Yeah. But yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to say. I think they will do him justice. I hope at least. What I wanted to say before we went into this, that we also, with Carson Teva looking for the evidence of Moff Gideon's escape, we also somehow get an answer on Cara Dune's disappearance from our universe. We know what happened in real life with the actress and so on and so forth, and how the show that was supposed to be about her and her squadron got scrapped, but they somehow at least gave us a tiny bit of an answer on what happened with Moff Gideon. So I actually appreciated that they did not just ignore what was going on behind the scenes, but gave us some sort of an answer.
I hated it. Genuinely. Like in all honesty, like I know I made that joke at the beginning, but that was the one part of the episode that I did not like. Was just the fact that they could have written the character out in any other way than just sort of letting her seamlessly die in the vacuum of space. I mean, I know I get morbid in these things, but that was a step too far.
Tell us what they could have done.
Just written it over as she's off doing her own thing, and there was a handover of Moff Gideon. It could have been that simple,
So she's
Yeah.
not dead, but she's just somewhere else doing something else.
Yeah. She's looking after Omega and the rest of the Bad Batch on another planet.
Oh, I hope not. I hope not.
It could have been done so tastefully, because whether you believe in what the actress had said or her actions, whatever, I think, and this isn't to sort of slate Disney, but they have been very quick to do damage control recently. Yeah. And I'm not going to talk about the bigger one that has gone on, because that's a whole separate conversation. But
you're talking about MCU, right?
Pirates.
Okay,
that
one. That one. I did not even think about that one. I still do not think about it as Disney property. I was thinking about the MCU one, that they had to change the slate completely.
Yeah, but I mean, so to have, again, whether you agree with what was said, and if there apologies and all of that stuff that went on, Disney did damage control, that's fine, but you built this character up, at least give her the option then of, if everything gets resolved and time passes and all of that stuff, make it possible for the character to return in some capacity. Don't just sort of give the assumption of she's been shot out into space.
With regards to Cara Dune, I definitely agree. With Pirates, they could never do that, because he is Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you can do about that. But Cara Dune, I definitely agree. They could have given the character another chance, separated from the actress or not. But that character was not there yet. with Jack Sparrow, it's a whole other conversation. It's a whole ordeal. But yeah.
And they're rebooting that series.
Sorry?
They're rebooting that series. They're starting over. Yeah, my thoughts exactly. It's like, just be done with it. Doesn't need a reboot. Just be done with it.
I mean, not for another 20 years. I
Yeah.
seriously do not need. I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, I guess, the first movie, holds up to this day. You don't
Yeah.
need to change anything. You don't have to do anything. Just leave it be. You don't have to reboot that series.
Well, it's the same with 2 and 3 from the Pirates films. They hold up as well. It's then when you start getting into like 4 and 5 that it's, plots get sort of rewritten constantly, and it's kind of. I'm glad that Star Wars hasn't currently fallen down this hole, into this trap of we've got this history, we have to keep it as this history. We can't. Yes, you've got additional characters coming in, so talking about the Bad Batch, we never see them again, but there's no reason why they aren't alive. The universe is the galaxy is huge. They could be somewhere. So, there is more scope in the Star Wars universe to keep characters alive, to keep them on standby, as it would then be. So, like with Cara Dune, they could have said she gave, it was a handover, gave them to New Republic prison guards, and that's where the ship got attacked. But instead, it was more left as, yeah, she's floating around in space somewhere.
I mean, she's dead. Let's just be honest. She's dead.
No chance of redemption. Disney very.
Yeah.
It's like,
That character is just gone. There's no such thing as Cara Dune anymore.
She's
sadly.
not dead until I see the body.
That is Sam's theory. He still thinks
But
Tech is alive. And we got
Tech
2
is
episodes
alive.
left.
I have not seen the body.
If Tech is alive, no. If Tech is not Tech himself, I cannot.
He could just be Echo. So, guys, another great episode, and we are really excited to see what's going to be happening on the next few episodes and seeing everything tie up. But before we go, guys, just always remember, jump down in the description, check out our links, check out our Instagram and our Discord to join a great community of fans. Also, check out our merch. We are with entertainmentearth.com, and we got a lot of cool Black Series and a lot of cool collectibles. And if you like any t-shirts, check out our Teespring. We got a lot of cool designs I think you guys will like. Sam is sporting one right now, so yeah. So till next time, guys.
May the Force
Be with you.
Always.